The goal in your life is not to figure out how to be comfortable in your mental prisons, but to realize that you have the keys to set yourself free. Hey everybody, it's Tim Shurr. Welcome to the program. And today I have an amazing guest. I'm really excited about the person that I brought to you today, and you're about to be as well. Duane Cummings is with us. Woo, Duane! Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Tim.
So Duane is just an amazing guy, and you would never know how successful and impactful this guy is if you were just hanging out and talking to him on the street, because he's also one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet, and so successful, so powerful, so many accomplishments, so many, his, billion-dollar Rolodex of people and people that have call him friend because of how impactful he is as a philanthropist and all the things that he's accomplished. And yet he will make you feel like you're the most amazing person in the room. So Duane, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing.
Thanks so much, Tim. And I accept those kind gift words that you gave me, but just here to serve, brother, here to serve.
Well, and that is what, I mean, if I opened up a dictionary and talked about what mesmerizing is, it would be your picture. You'd be like, right?
Wow.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I've met so many amazing people through the years and had so many great conversations, but our conversation really, it impacted me, right? Because we were talking and getting to know each other. And then all of a sudden, I just felt compelled to start sharing some personal things with you and the advice that you gave and the things that you said. I mean, it was really powerful. And that's why I couldn't wait to get you on the show, because one of the things I love about this podcast is the private conversations that I have. And how I wish that everybody could kind of eavesdrop and drop in and just hear, the things that I'm hearing. And so I'm so glad
you're fly on the wall. Sorry to interrupt. Be the fly on the wall, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so everybody that's listening, welcome. You have just entered the room with Duane and I, and I'm telling you, I'm as excited to be here as everybody else. So Duane, let me ask you a few questions. Let me, have you give people a little bit of your background. So, because you've done so many things. You were a professional athlete and a coach, a championship soccer player. I mean, you have so many different things in addition to all the business accomplishments and the speaking fame and being the author and the philanthropist and everything. So give our listeners a little bit of background about who you are.
Oh, wow. We jokingly say I've had a Forrest Gump life, because if you've ever seen the movie Forrest Gump, he was in the military and he did athletics. He was a football player and he got into Bubba Gump shrimp. But a lot of the time he was just moving from one thing to another, not like it wasn't purposeful. I'm going to climb this corporate ladder and go get my MBA. And I think that's kind of how my life went. So early on, I was in athletics and I had injuries that pushed me into coaching probably earlier than I wanted. And I think I took those kind of skills and talents and things that I learned in the athletics world and used those and rolled them up into the corporate world. So some people know me for the private label clothing company I had, the Duke and Duchess, for instance. That was an accident. I started making clothes for myself, or having someone make them for myself. And then we were like, let's make a few more and give them as gifts. And it was the time of .com starting to come along and eBay and e-commerce. And next thing you know, like, we're in this huge, ginormous business with containers coming from China, and I'm trying to figure out what EBITDA means and, how you hire employees. And so it kind of like Forrest Gump. I always said yes to things. And as long as they were kind of with my true north and my purpose, it wasn't about making enough money to buy a 200-foot yacht or, doing that. It was like, what am I passionate about? What do I love? What am I interested in? What's going to help me stretch and grow? And so you asked me about my background, sports, corporate world, learned to be a trainer and coach and salesperson, went into entrepreneurship. So own my own companies. That turns into people think you know a lot more than you do. So now you get asked to be involved in other companies. Then you get asked to consult. So I own a consulting company and have for going on 2 decades. which then turns into, hey, would you come and tell us your story and speak? So that was big for a long time and still is, which turns into, we want to digest all your knowledge and your experience information in other ways. So would you write a book and be a book writer? So I kind of just say I keep stumbling forward and saying yes a lot. So, recently I got back in business with an old partner of mine. We were in oil and gas, which kind of happened by accident. I got asked to go consult. And next thing you know, I'm an equity partner and a COO, and we're ramping a company up to sell. But I just got reunited with that guy in a beef company. So I just keep saying yes. And I know that didn't give particulars to your audience, but man, I could go on for days on how many things I've also done wrong in my experiences. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, the point is that you keep saying yes and you keep having these extraordinary opportunities. And it doesn't mean that it was all easy, right? And it all just falls into your lap. You had to work really hard. And you have as many ups and downs and struggles as everybody else.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've kept that attitude, that positive attitude. Jim Carrey made a movie one time called Yes Man, right? Because he was afraid of everything. And so he picked a certain amount of time. I'm going to say yes to everything. And so, yeah, going from oil and clothing manufacturer and professional sports and now working in the beef industry, right? I mean, all these different things. And then one of the ways that we met is through your relationships with some of the world's biggest names in the speaking business in the world and how you got involved in that as well. Tell us a little bit about how that came together.
Yeah, so I had been speaking for a long time. There's an organization that John Maxwell originally started. I think it was called Maximum Impact originally, but it's known as LeaderCast. It's headquartered in Atlanta, and annually they have an event in May where you bring 9 of the world's top speakers together, put them on a stage. There's a live audience of 15, 20,000, and then it's simulcast around the planet. It's all these host sites everywhere. And so I had been involved. I knew the owners, friends. I contributed as a speaker. They also have a library of content, so they have different people that contribute videos about different topics. So I've been involved in that. I helped with what they call LeaderCast Labs, which is a smaller, more intimate informational exchange the day before the live event. And we had just sold the oil and gas company, and we had a place to live in a house in Oklahoma and Atlanta, but Atlanta was kind of our base. So I'd gone back there and was spending time. I just released a book. And I kind of got this call, hey, you want to meet for breakfast? And we've made a change. The CEO outgoing for LeaderCast, we have to fill a spot and would like you to do it. And of course, I was blown away, like, wow, okay, here's one of the top leadership companies in the world. And I'm always striving to be a better leader, but the reality of, hold on a minute, you want me to lead this organization? It was kind of weird, but it was kind of in my wheelhouse because it's events, it's learning management systems and content. It's helping corporations like American Express all the way down to mom and pops and leaders. And then the speaking side of it, putting on those events and dealing with speakers. So, everybody from Desmond Tutu, Malala, Nobel Peace Prize winners to athletes, Peyton Mannings of the world, coaches like Nick Saban, business people like Jack Welch or Simon Sinek or, Ginger Hardage from Southwest Airlines. And then up and coming speakers you might not have ever heard of. Shabnam Mugarbi, who was at Zappos and helped co-author that book. So, yeah, it was my sweet spot. And, a lot of those people are my friends. We're close. People like Molly Fletcher, she's the female Jerry Maguire. So I also include those people that are in my lives in my books. So, yeah, just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? The friendships and the experiences that come from all of that. You have in your bio in LinkedIn when you talk about being a CEO, and I just love the acronym. So let's talk a little bit about leadership because that's what I talk about a lot. And you say that CEO stands for constantly elevating others. And I just love that. And before we started recording this program, you were talking about how you take the kind of like the hierarchy, the structure of a company, with the CEO at the top, and you flip it upside down. So how did you come to that? And explain it a little bit, your philosophy of leadership and how you came to looking at it in that way.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm not going to say that everything I have is original works and original thoughts. There's been a lot going on in leadership for eons on this planet.
Yeah.
So you look around and you figure out what's effective. So, during my early days, I went in the military. I was in the military for a few years, served in the Army. You learn about, that kind of leadership. Athletic teams, who are the quiet leaders, other leaders. Business, who are effective people that can get an organization or a corporation in the next place. And it just came to be in my mind that I always followed and really enjoyed servant leaders. So there's the Greenleaf Servant Leadership Institute that was started in 1974. I've been around them. I've learned a lot about it. But it really I had this idea of serving. So if I'm going to serve, then I probably need to be helping other people become better. That needs to be my focus. Hence, constantly elevating others or constantly elevating the organization. And then thanks to the Industrial Revolution and us taking on a military model of corporations, we had that, triangle, CEO at the top, COOs, vice presidents, directors. It just goes on down and to the forces, right? Our troops on the ground. And I always thought like, that's not right. And the people that were mentoring me or around me were always talking about your customer, outward facing, focus on their needs, exchange the word sales for service. And so over time, I just kind of flipped that triangle, and I put myself at the bottom of the pyramid. And I said, my role is going to be to serve those people that are in my organization that are kind of direct reports. So whether it's my chief sales officer or CFO or whatever, I need to show up every day and help them be their best self, produce the best result. And if you think about it in terms of a tree, it actually mirrors that too, because all the roots of an organization should be the roots of the leadership. And then if the roots are good, the trunk will go well, branches can grow, twigs can grow, leaves and flowers, right? And so if your customer is typically your flower and you want it to bloom well, it all starts at the bottom and in the roots, and having the right environment and being able to get the nutrients in there. And so, yeah, it's all kind of poetic, and I didn't mean to illustrate it so graphically, but I just think if I make the people there better and I set that example, then they can see it demonstrated, then they can do it for their people. And inevitably the people that are customer facing can show up and serve our customer well. So.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. And I actually love the imagery, because when my wife and I first started our practice, we were looking for some kind of logo. And we started with a tree. We were always attracted to the tree and the roots, right? And then 30 years later, I just finished creating a values blueprint kind of diagram, and we graphically created the tree and did the same thing. So it's a culture tree for the last.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that. That's crazy. That's cool.
Yeah. It's a synchronicity, right? And so that stuff matters. And sometimes people will think I think short-sighted leaders will think that is too soft, right? That taking care of your people it's too soft, and we've got to drive forward. And it's about this shareholders and this stakeholders and all the people that, it's at the end of the day, as long as you hit your goals, nobody really cares how you get there. And what I'm finding when I talk to the best leaders around, they're saying, no, there's too much collateral damage, and it absolutely matters how you get there. And it takes you to a whole other level of performance when you're taking care of your people instead of, whipping them into shape.
Yeah. So when I talked about copying the military model, so if you think about the terms that are used in the workforce, like we're going to send the troops out there, human resources, right? So in the military, whatever we need to expend, what resources we need to expend to take that hill, that's just necessary. That's the collateral damage. We got to do whatever to achieve that goal. And so when companies trying to make shareholders happy or hit a mark on a quarterly report or whatever, when they think that way, they leave, there's low retention, high turnover. We lose a lot of people. Whatever happens, right? We have to give up on our ethics maybe because we just got to make that mark. We got to hit that mission. And that's not sustainable. Like military is not supposed to be, a war is not supposed to go on forever, right? A war is a short-term thing. That's why that strategy works. But business, you want your business to be there for 200, 300, 400 years. So you can't use the same strategy. I think it's something that we don't even know how we got there. And now no one's really taken the time to unwind it, except for some of these companies. So like Netflix does a good job. They've changed their hierarchy, their structure. People that started understanding collaboration, collaborative project work, yeah, I think they get it. But yeah, at the end of the day, for me, if I could get to 2 years down the road and have all my team still there, we've had some wins, probably had some challenges, we're moving the company forward, but people are fulfilled and they've contributed and they feel valued and they've been compensated, in a way they feel good about, that's the win, right? Mm-hmm. And that is in direct conflict with a lot of other strategies for major corporations today, unfortunately.
Yeah, everybody has a different definition of what success means. Yeah. So it's interesting. A couple of years ago, I started hearing rumors that even the military was taking certain people in the military, more enlightened ones in the military, were taking a look at that and recognizing that, when people have boots on the ground and they're on the front line, that maybe you should listen to them. When you're, 2,000 miles away in a bunker somewhere, and the missiles aren't flying over your head, right? That you should pay attention. Yeah. And just how the communication, because there's so much blatant disrespect, even in the different branches of the military. They're always cracking on. Navy and Air Force and Marines are always ripping on each other, right? And everybody is, in special forces teams, Rangers versus SEALs, everybody's always against each other and in business, that's different departments have silos and they're pointing fingers. And that never works as well as when you have one team working together with respectful communication. And people think that being a warrior means that you just have to be mean to everybody, right? And not care. And I think that we're trying to elevate what that really means to be effective, even as a warrior. Some of the friends that I have that are Navy SEALs, or you don't retire from being a SEAL. You're always a SEAL, right? So
that's right.
you're always, that's always a part of who you are when you serve. When you serve, that's always a part of who you are. And, but like JB, one of the guys I'm thinking of now, he said that his level of respect and communication has definitely changed from how it used to be when he was younger and more wild and a little more crazy. And I think that probably that's hopefully, wisdom is the maturing, as we get older and looking at things a little bit where we're more others focused.
Yeah. I think as you get older, the hope is you become more empathetic. You give people more grace and you become more self-reflective. So you see, man, back then I thought I had my act together. Now that I look back, I was probably a turd. Like I was probably a jerk, because early on in my life, I know my ambition clouded a lot of my decisions. And so I probably wasn't my best self as a young professional coach or, an athletic director at a university that I held that position. And you can't go back and change your past, but you should, as soon as you're aware of it, you should change the trajectory of your future and take on that stuff, which is wisdom, right? I got all this gray hair for a reason now. Hopefully I've made enough experience, mistakes and things like that hopefully I'm gaining some wisdom.
Yeah. My mistakes were so heavy, my hair just fell out.
The thing about you is no one sees anything else except for the smile and the eyes and all that, because you have such an amazing, inviting personality, right? So yeah, it's an awesome blue shirt, but it's hard to get past the smile. So,
well, thank you. So you wrote this great book, right? And it's all about successful leadership, and all the profits are going to charity, which is amazing, right? So what are some of the golden nuggets that you felt compelled to put into that book?
Well, just so we give context, it's the second in a series and it's kind of the arc of my life. So the first book is me falling on my face. This book is the section that I really became, I think, a better leader. Mm-hmm. And so every chapter, a mentor comes into the character's life and teaches them a lesson. So one of the lessons could be about fearlessness. So in that chapter, it's a real relationship I had with Molly Fletcher, the lady I mentioned earlier. She's wrote books on fearlessness and negotiation, and she's just very wise. Another chapter is going to be about collaboration, as we talked about earlier. Alan Schaefer, founder of 5 Star Iris, the frontman, singer-songwriter. He's in that chapter. And each one of these people in my life, they brought something different. So Ricardo Gonzalez taught me about culture. He wrote the book 6 Stages of Cultural Mastery, and really enlightened me when it comes to culture. You mentioned JB, your friend, the SEAL. One of my good friends is Kenny Thomas. He was a ranger, one of the guys that went down to Mogadishu, the movie Black Hawk Down's based on. And he taught me about, leaders stepping forward. And so in this book, it's just this character's continued journey. He meets with a bunch of different mentors, one, every couple of days, that teach him their own unique lesson. And it's all the lessons that I find very valuable. So, and that's building on the first book, and the first book's lessons were things like honesty and integrity, and you are your own brand. And in this book, it's, how to be culturally aware, a cultural master. It's about, leaders stepping forward. It's about fearlessness. It's about awareness. So one of the chapters happens to be awareness, because I think leaders, they have to be aware and be able to put themselves in other people's shoes. That's the whole point of empathy, right?
Yeah.
I think it might not be what everybody else agrees are the greatest traits or characteristics of a leader, but they're the ones that impacted me on my journey. So that's why I share them and put them in that story form. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to read this book. I'm going to definitely get it and read it, because it reminds me of the Ogmandino series, right? Where, or Celestine Prophecies, right? Or any journey where you're going through and you're meeting these different mentors and people who are giving you a nugget of wisdom. And then you just keep collecting them, and then you look back and see how it all came together. So I agree with what you're saying, though, about, I know this is just my perspective. Others might disagree, and yes, others will. But I have surveyed thousands and thousands of employees and leaders in my programs, and I always ask them, describe the characteristics of the best leaders you've ever had. And they always describe the virtues that you're talking about, right? They were honest, they were confident, they took risks, they cared about people, and it was always, it came back to the soft stuff, right? Nobody said this person was amazing with the spreadsheet. Right?
Excel wizards, right?
Yeah. Nobody was talking about, they were unbelievable at making cutbacks, right? Nobody talked about that. They weren't ever talking about the tactical hard stuff, the hard skills of business. It was always how they treated you and how they made you feel. And so that always stood up.
And I reflected the same way you do, right? I reflected on who made the most impact on me, and what, when you boil it down, what really was a true impact. And the people that taught me how to be self-aware, how to communicate better, how to interact with people, how to serve and bring the best out of other people, how to teach people about being resourceful versus relying on resources. When you look back at every vertical I've ever been involved in, every industry, even culturally, when I go to Africa or when I go to Europe or Asia, those stick out, right? That's just, that's how it works. And so for me to be able to throw it in a book, as a parable, you mentioned Ogmandino, would love that, greatest salesman in the world. Bob Berg is a good friend of mine. He wrote the Go Giver Sells More, those parables. It's easy for people to digest, because they can typically put themselves in the shoes of the character and go, oh yeah, like that happened to me, or I can see how that works. And so, we did it, and, then we'll just keep it going, and hopefully people find value in it. And if they don't, they can use it to level their dining room table, or I can send them 3 extra copies. They can have a poster set or whatever they want, right?
That's funny. If they don't like it, they can send it to me. I'll buy it off of them. So that's, I mean, it's really powerful stuff, right? Being able to, I think the biggest part of it, and the biggest obstacle for most people, is they're not able to see their own blind spots, right? They're not able to see where, how they're impacting other people. They just don't see it, or because they've had a level of success, it makes them uncoachable, because, because they feel like, well, this success is, the way that I do things is why I've been successful. And so it keeps them from looking at a different point of view. So, that's always, whenever I do anything with anybody trying to help them to change, the first thing we do is we create greater awareness, and we try to do it in a way where it's funny, where people can take a look at it and laugh at stuff that we can all relate to, so that we don't feel defensive or like we're being criticized. Because that'll cause, as Brene Brown calls it, your emotional armor to go up faster than anything else. And
that's right.
Yeah. So in your book, The Sensational Leader, why did you decide to give all the money to charity?
Well, it actually started with the first book, and it's not something we publicize. I'm grateful that you're sharing that, because a lot of people do think, oh, that guy's just trying to sell books to make money. But we just found it as another way to serve, right? So we attach in the book, as you'll see when you read them, there's an event. It's called the Sensational Awards Gala, and there's typically a keynote, and then there's an organization that the money's going to, a charitable organization. And so we just extended that out to where, okay, not only will the event, the real live event money go there, but let's attach money or revenue from a book sales, because that's going to go on forever in perpetuity and can go into a trust. And, you know, great nonprofits that are doing a lot of work, they struggle with always having to put their hand out. So they're trying to become sustainable, find other ways, you know, to not beg for money all the time. And this just was a way that I think we could contribute. And, you know, what's fun about these books is they're parables. They show up as fiction, but pretty much everybody in them is real. And as you start reading them, you'll go like, oh, wait, I think that's a real person. You Google them and you find out it is. And in this book, we have a relationship with a couple organizations in Africa. And in the last chapter, the character goes with some other people on a 10-day journey in Africa, and they're learning leadership. And so I've done that journey. I've taken people, we call it a leadership expedition. And one of the organizations there is Kenya. A friend of mine, Adam Gould, who lives here in Tennessee, he founded it, and he does really great work. And I know we help in America, we help in Africa, we help wherever help is needed. And so that's one of the organizations that we decided, you know what, let's help Adam. He's been in our life. He's doing the right thing. We've seen the work tangibly right in our face. So yeah, that's why we decided to do it. I don't know. Yeah. You only need so much money to live on this planet, right? And so why not do the best you can with all the excess you have? I don't know. I know it sounds Pollyanna and pixie dust and unicorns. And
I don't know. I like it. I think that, you know, my father-in-law talks about that a lot. You know, he says that if some of these people that have like $100 million and they give $1 million away to charity, it sounds like, oh, $1 million, but really that's nothing when you have $100 million, right? And so there's so many people that think that, and just to bring it down, so many people think that you have to be a millionaire to be able to live well and contribute and help others, and you do not. Right?
Nah.
So you can have, I've met so many people that were just, you know, making $100,000 and they felt like they were really enjoying their life because what mattered to them wasn't all the material stuff. It was the experiences, right? They live for the experiences and the relationships and the connections. And that was much more empowering than the experience of just having a fancy car. Right? Or the big house or things like that. I know people that have had a big house and there's no furniture in it because it's all about the show.
Yeah. House core.
Yeah. Trying to prove, you know, that I ran into that at one time too, where, you know, I thought that's how I was going to feel significant, having all that stuff. And I felt like I was just poor at a higher level because I put all my money into that stuff instead of into people, which, you know, it's a painful lesson, but the pain is what keeps the wisdom intact, right? So you've been around the world and you've had all these different experiences, and you're helping Adam, you know, with his ventures here in America and in Africa and things like that, which is amazing. So when you have lectured around or taught these leadership concepts around the world, what does the rest of the world have to say about that? What do other people think about that?
Well, that's a fantastic question, because I really like to know what other cultures think. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans are American-centric, right? We live here, we earn our money here, we feel like we're the smartest country, but, you know, we've been around a few hundred years. There's countries that have been around a few thousand. So most of the things that we have here didn't originate here. We were talking about this yesterday because I was with a friend up here in Northern Arizona who was making saddles. And he was like, man, I'm good, but there's been people making saddles in Argentina or Spain for a lot longer than I've been making saddles. So I've got a lot to learn. So when I'm over in those other countries, it's interesting because most of the characteristics and traits stay the same in most places. Some places they manifest a little differently. So you go to certain countries in Africa, they don't want their leader to show up as soft and empathetic. Like, they want a leader that's going to be able to defend them because they're in a little different position. And if you think about the U.S. early on, a lot of our presidents, our leaders were more military people that had the ability to defend what we have, right, and protect our resources. And I think as the world changes and as the world evolves, we need different skills as a leader, whether it's empathy, communication, collaboration. And, the globe is really shrinking. I can send a text right now across the globe and it'll be there in a millisecond. So, the rest of the world, I think most of the time they agree with the way leadership should be. Most countries do not want authoritative, dictatorish, my way or the highway, I'm the only one that knows, my way's always worked type of leaders. Because things now change so quickly on our planet that what worked today might not work tomorrow. So earlier when you were talking about that leader that says, I'm unaware because I'm just going to keep doing what works. Wow. Like that whole industry's changed. So that was maybe somebody that led a movie rental place, right? VCR place, or
right.
a toy store that we all know, or whatever. Right. So it works. Till it doesn't work. And so if you're unaware and you're not, moving along, you struggle. And I think all those other countries that I visit, they get to look at us kind of as the laboratory, right? Yeah. And there's what used to happen is countries just want to follow in our footsteps. Now I think countries and people and leaders around the world are taking pause and saying, you know what, we're going to take this from America that we like, or from these type of leaders, but we're going to leave that behind.
Yeah.
And if you think about our younger workforce generations, they're doing the same thing. They're like, I value this, but I don't value sacrificing my future and my family and all that just to move up one more peg on the corporate ladder. So yeah. I don't know if that truly answered your whole question, but I think most of the time it's agreed upon what a great leader is around the world, with a few exceptions.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what makes, that's a great answer, because I think that's what makes America so effective is we've drawn talent from all over the world. People usually come to this country because they want the opportunities and they want to collaborate with the best and the brightest. And that is what made America amazing, is that we have people from everywhere here, right? And everybody working together and having all these big breakthroughs. A lot of times if you tell stories about how we got to the moon and stuff, it was because someone that we brought in that wasn't from America, right? And so we have this talent, this pool of talent that is extraordinary. And I think you're exactly right, that we have to have more discerning eyes and try to take the stuff that is really good and separate it from the stuff that isn't. You got to sift through a lot of mud before you find the gold nuggets, right? And so that's what we're trying to do, hopefully, intellectually, right? And there's still plenty of mud out there, but we got to keep looking for how we're similar and how we can care about each other instead of how different we are. So,
man, you said that, that's amazing the way you package that. Earlier you talked about success. I really think it all comes down to how everybody defines success, right? And in this world, what used to be just my community or my village's problem is now everybody's problem, because as I said, the world has shrunk. So man, I'm going to need a copy of this so I can go back and listen to what you just said about 10 more times.
So, well, that's awesome. So, the other thing that I like too is, you said sometimes we want our leaders to be tough, right? Like most people would say, I don't want a really nice attorney,
right?
They want a bulldog, right? They want someone who's going to be tough, that shows up, that looks mean and grumpy. And so, but at the same token, I know a lot of strong, tough leaders, but what makes them so good is they're not abusive with it. Right?
Yeah.
You can be tough in a way that has everybody's back. And as opposed to the leaders who are tough, and we've got some examples in pretty high positions right now in our government, who are showing an example of, and what I think is poor leadership, of calling names and trying to weaken the other side so that you can look bigger and more powerful and tougher. And that is like throwing out your defense so your offense can look amazing. You don't win games like that, right?
Right.
So we have a lot of examples.
You made me think of a conversation Alan Schaefer and I have all the time. We're real good friends, and we do what we call loitering. So we go someplace and hang out and talk about the world's challenges and how we can help solve them, right? Yeah. And he talks about power versus force.
Yes.
Right. And so force comes with the laws, right? It comes with resistance. And so some people as leaders, they're trying to use force. Other people are trying to use influence or power, right? You don't have to be big. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to blow someone's candle out to make yours look brighter.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is where as an older Duane, I also give grace. And I'm like, some of those people, that's been their tactic and strategy, and it worked for them, and they don't know another way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's going to work until it doesn't work. I want to be the leader and the person on the planet that's aware that says what I'm doing today might work, but there's going to come a day where it might not. And so I need to be prepared for that day with a backup set of skills and a different level of awareness so that I can adjust, because those are the people, leaders, and companies that usually stand the test of time. And even if people don't like you, they will respect you and they will follow your lead because they know you have their best interest in mind,
Yes. And that's really important. They will follow you if they believe that they're going to get something out of it. And so if we look at our current president, sometimes people think, well, the reason he got elected is because he's so tough and because he's so funny and because he is, ripping on other people. That is not, he got elected in spite of it, right? Why he got elected is because he had a whole bunch of very smart, savvy people that knew how to get the message out using the media to be able to cause a whole bunch of people to feel like he was their president, he was connecting with them. And that if they move in that direction, it's going to be good for them and their family. And even when you talk to Republicans who do not care for Donald Trump as a person, they will always say, as long as the economy's good, that's where my vote is going, because it comes back to what's in it for me. And so, you might see on the surface that, oh, well, that's a great leadership style. I want to promote that, but that's not really what has got him elected or keeping him in power. And so I think that people need to understand that and have that distinction, because it's these distinctions that really separate people. And the distinction is that he had a bunch of people on his team who found a way to connect with his audience. And so, there's so many people out there would say, well, Donald Trump is doing it this way and he's kind of has his bully pulpit and it's working for him and it still works for him and he's still winning. Right. And so, that is the way. And they use that behavior as an excuse to lead in the way that they are, which is, a lot of times abusive or manipulated or very self-focused. And part of my mission is to change that. We need more leaders who are transformational and not transactional. Right?
Yeah.
So I'd be out there loitering with you going, what are we going to do? Because that's the winning question. And then I'm going to shut up so you can answer, but that's the winning question. You said it. You said, how are we going to change the world? You didn't sit there and say, let's talk about all the reasons why the world is wrong. You said, how are we going to change it? You asked the right question.
Yeah, I think, first of all, demonstrating the behavior that you want in the world is a great way, right? So setting the example. If you want your kids to learn to behave a certain way in public, then you behave a certain way in public. I think creating environments for people that are passionate about doing it the right way. You have to give them opportunities and create environments for them to show up in the world. A lot of what happens is what we call packaging. So you get the greatest steak in the world, best piece of beef, it's cooked perfectly by the greatest chef, but it comes out on a dirty plate and it's like, right? And so I think that ends up happening a lot of times with leaders. They have good things or they can get a good result, but how it's packaged, right? So there would be people that argue that Donald Trump is making a huge impact. He's bringing more cash back or jobs or whatever. And I'm not an economist and I'm not a political science person. So anybody can shoot arrows at me and they're going to hit me right in the face. So I get it. But I think some people would also agree, man, if he just packaged it a little differently, I could probably digest it. I could get on board. And so packaging is really big for me. And then it's truly about, understanding what impacts the result. So, there's people that'll sit around and complain about, I'll use baseball as an example, the salaries of baseball players. And I can't believe that ticket prices have gone up because these guys are making so much money. They really actually don't understand the mechanics of sports management, that person's making so much money because of a TV deal, and the ticket prices are only driven because of the local market because, wherever you live, you're in Indianapolis, right, or that area. So the Colts ticket prices are because of discretionary funds in that market and what they think you can get for tickets. It's not because they raised it because they got to pay, somebody to retire or whatever. I won't go there, but
right.
So understanding the nuances of how all that works, that will help you decide, what do we do, right? Because everybody kind of wants to help and get involved, but if you don't know the equation, and if you don't know what you're solving for, you don't know where you fit in that equation. And my role most of the time is help people understand the equation, where you can really make an impact, and then what you need to do, right? So, yeah.
Well,
I don't know if that made sense.
Well, it does. You're drilling it right back to leadership again, right? What is the real job of the leader? And the real job of a leader, like you said, is to elevate others, right? To lift others up, to help them have more clarity, to help them understand their purpose, and to see the value that they bring and how they affect the whole organization. One of my clients is a hospital, and they are trying to get, they're trying to help their every department, accounting, operations, maintenance, right? The people that are cleaning the rooms, I can't remember what the term is now.
Custodial engineers?
Custodial, yes, custodial department, right? That's right, those engineers. And so they want them to understand how vital and impactful they are to the organization, because the nurse can't do their job if they don't have a clean room, if they don't get the right prescription or the right dosage from the labs. I mean, all of it fits together. It's an integral part of it. And so sometimes marketing or sales and other clients I have, they get the sunshine on them, right? But if you don't have shipping and you don't have all the other departments working together, like accounting, and people don't get billed, or things, taxes don't get paid, that company cannot exist. And so, when the leader helps you understand how valuable you really are and shows you live examples of how what you're doing is contributing, it's a huge deal. Right. And so I think that's what being a sensational leader, a big part of it is all about.
Yeah, that's so well said again. One of the things that we try to do to simplify, to make it easy, is anybody with a C, when I'm talking to organizations, anybody with a C in their title, CEO, CIO, CFO, whatever, CMO, your role is all the C's. So your role is to teach communication and be a great communicator. Your role is collaboration. You mentioned the word contribute. Well, your role is to provide clarity on how somebody is contributing to the organization, and consequences. Your role is to explain to people, what will the consequences be if we as an organization don't achieve? And so the C word with the C title, all the C words typically work. And then, earlier we were talking about the definition of success. One of the things we always mention is like the F words you can say in public, which is family, fun, friendship. So your F and C words, those are in my world a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I've never heard it like that before. I got chills on that one. That is so good. The F words in public, yes, it's hilarious. But the C words, if you have a C, I love that. That is so tweetable, right?
That's what we call tweet bait. Or if you're in Oklahoma,
that's right.
If you're in Oklahoma, that's a writer downer, right?
That is, and that's exactly what I was doing. I was writing her down because that is so good. Oh my gosh. All right, so everybody that's hearing that, and you don't have to have a C in your title. You don't have to have a title to show up that way, to use all of these things, because you can have some pretty amazing influence without the title and be the go-to person because of how you make people feel. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
So where can people find these books? I'm sure you can go on Amazon. Do you have what's your website? I'm going to make sure we have everything in the show notes so that people can get copies of your book and start reading that right away.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, all the normal. If you're in the UK, I think it's called Stone something. But if you go to DuaneCummings.com, so DuaneCummings, you'll find me. If you don't spell Duane right, you might find some people in orange jumpsuits that don't look like the guy that's a good last few years. But if you spell it right, you'll get me. Sometimes my wife's name is Kim, so she shows up in a lot of places and posts. But yeah, DuaneCummings.com is where you can get anything, the old books, new books. I don't even want to, I'm going to say it just for your audience's benefit, because I don't know when this is going to show and air and all that. But I know that we've talked about the fact that September 15th, we do a drawing. Is this all right if I share this?
Oh yeah, because I'm going to promote it, and it's definitely going to come out before the 15th. So
okay.
yeah, so let's talk about it, because that was my next question. Tell them about that amazing contest that you and your wife have put together, which everybody listening can enter and be a part of, because this is huge. So everybody, breaking news, listen now.
Well, thanks. And it's easier for me to tell people when it's not like this promo to try to sell books and, I'm going to give you a free keychain. So the first book, people needed those life lessons that I had learned the hard way. So we had a contest where 2 people got to go anywhere they wanted to go in the world with my wife and I, and we would go through the lessons in the book. So like a lady, Sheila McClary from Peekskill, New York, she picked Italy. It was awesome. We got to take her, spend 10 days. So on this book, by the way, that one was a little harder because I was the judge. My family and I decided who would win it. And we had 77,000 entries on the first day. So it took us a long time to figure out.
Oh my
I felt bad about, like, there were lots of people that should have went with us. We can't give a trip to everybody. So on this book, we said, you know what? The last chapter in the book kind of culminates on this 10-day trip to Africa, where this group of people go through some leadership lessons. And I was like, you know what? That's going to be the giveaway. That's going to be a way that if no matter how many people don't buy the book, do buy the book, we know we're going to hopefully positively impact at least one person, because they're going to go on this trip with us. So on September 15th, we're using Random Generator. There's a YouTube video out there that you can see on my website as well. It kind of gives the rules. But if they buy the book and just let me know they bought the book, right? Their name's going to go on this list. And then on September 15th, Random Generator is going to pick like number 704. And then we'll read that name off live. And that person, as long as we can figure it out, they're going to Africa.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so, and they can get, they can get up to 3 chances to get their name on the list. One of them, of course, from a promotional standpoint, is if they share it on social media. And then if they do a review. Look, I'm not chasing down, filling a funnel with followers. I'm not trying to get, number 1 book on Amazon. We really want to impact somebody's life. So this just seemed like a really cool and fun way.
Oh, it is. It's remarkable, right? What an experience to be able to spend time with you and your wife would be a win just doing that. But then taking them on a trip with you, I mean, that's outrageous. That's amazing. You're taking a book and you're making it come to life. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, that's been the whole goal. So we want to, a lot of times when people read these books, they're like, man, I really wish I could meet that person or be more like them or talk to them about this lesson. I'm like, well, Google them, because more than likely they're real and you can meet them. And then their eyes light up, and then it just starts a whole new opportunity. Right. So, and I think immersion, it's one thing to read a book and to hear somebody speak on stage and maybe even go to a facilitated event exercise. But when you immerse yourself in that for 10 days, you're probably going to get something out of it. And by the way, my wife and I, you're with us all the time. So you're either going to see us demonstrate the real behaviors, or we're phonies and, it's going to crack and we're going to show up. So, yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And even if you and your wife are having a hard time, that's authentic too, right?
Yeah.
Couples that are perfect. I mean, we all have to put energy into it, but you literally, when people be like, I'm in the jungle, baby, like literally you're in the jungle, baby.
That's right. That's right.
That is extraordinary. So everybody go over to DuaneCummings.com and sign up for that contest and get his book and be a part of his world and his community, because it is just really extraordinary, the stuff that you and your wife are putting together and the things that you're doing, the goodness you're putting out into the world. I mean, how fun, right? I mean, it's just so amazing that
another one of those F words, by the way. Another one of those F words you can say in public. Fun, right?
Fun, absolutely. I think the more fun you have, the more successful you are, right? Because you're living your dream in real time. Yeah, I mean,
yes.
You're really appreciative instead of just looking back and saying, wow, that's amazing how that fell into place. I wish I would have realized it then. We're realizing it right now that, this is pretty extraordinary how you can have an impact. And you don't have to do something as amazing as what Duane and his wife is doing with taking somebody. You can show up and just hold the door for somebody, offer someone a smile, give them your full attention, offer a kind word or praise. People are craving just attention, any kind of attention,
Yeah. So what's big to one person is actually small to someone else, and what's small to one person is big to someone else. So it's really just about helping other people, you know, enjoy their life, feel better, emote in a positive way, feel valued, right?
Yeah.
So people want to feel valued. Just learning someone's name, knowing your waitresses or waiter's name, like instead of, hey, you, I need this, or, you know, call them by their name, for goodness sake. We all, make no mistake about it. It's not lost on me. Just because I'm an author and I've had all these things happen in my life, I am no better than anyone else on this planet. Blood flows through my veins just like anyone else. We have ups and downs, struggles. I'm just part of the human race, trying to live with purpose and intention and make a positive impact on my life and other people's. But I'm no better than anybody else, and I don't always have all the answers. So,
well, you know, the hero in the movie never really ever thinks of him or herself as the hero. They always feel like they just had to do the right thing and what had to be done. And I always think that that's what actually makes them the hero. And so I love that, you know, I love the humility and you know, you just keep demonstrating it. And so I think it's, you know, we can all make a difference. It doesn't, you know, we just got to ask the right question. You know, because some people will see your level of success and say, well, there's no way I could do that. That's the wrong question. The question is, well, what can you do? What can you do? Right? What can you do today? And you'd be amazed at all the stuff that we can do to make ourselves and others feel loved and cared for and respected. So, and it's easier to do these days to help people feel good because not a lot of people seem to be out there doing that, you know? So it's easy to stand out, right? I remember I was in a Starbucks one time, and you know, with Starbucks, everybody's staring at their phone, placing their order, and then staring back at their phone. And so I put my phone away, and I got up there, and I looked right at the person, the barista that was taking care of me, and I looked him right in the eye. I said, "How's your day going?" And he literally like stumbled, you know, and dropped a cup, like he was physically taken aback that I actually cared and asked him and made contact, which was really funny, you know. And he was like, "Good. Thanks for asking." I'm like, "You're welcome."
Like, you mean you recognize me? I'm alive? Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. We got out of our cell phone world for a little while and got present. And I think that
is, back to what I said earlier in the show, man. Your smile, your eyes, you greet people, you make them feel warm. People meet you before you ever open your mouth. They've already met you because you show up as a caring, warm individual, right? And so that's fantastic leadership. Demonstrate what the world needs more of.
Yeah.
So hence why I would follow you, right? So, yeah.
That's exactly right, Duane. If you want to see a change in the world, be the change in the world. If there's something you complain about it, well, then give us a role model for how it should be instead. And, so that we're doing more living in action, in vision and action, so to speak, as opposed to just complaining about things. So one last question for you. So,
okay.
You ready? All right. So with all the experiences that you've had, if you could go back and talk to 10-year-old Duane and give him a bit of advice to help that kid that you once were to be able to be ready for the world and all the experiences that he has, what advice would you go back and give him?
It's pretty simple. So early on, I think I was arrogant. Right. And I thought the way the world worked that if you asked too many questions or you showed you didn't know something, you were not as valuable, you were not as worthy, you were weak. Right. So if you even think about in our school system, if you raise your hand and you don't have the right answer, you feel bad. Right. No one says, you didn't have the right answer there, but it led that person to figure out the right answer. So good job. So I think I would tell a 10-year-old Duane, don't worry about how you show up in the world. If people are going to judge you and make you, it's not about whether you're weak or strong. Just be you. Like I would tell that 10-year-old kid, look at your finger. You only have one fingerprint. No one else in history has ever had it. Don't try to compare yourself. That's probably what it is. Don't compare yourself to other people. Comparison is the thief of joy. Be you. Be the best you can be. Let the chips fall where they may. Right? You're going to have some struggles, but don't compare yourself, what you can do to other people. Just do your best. That's it.
That's beautiful. That comparison comes up a lot because it's so easy to be able to feel like we don't have enough or we're not good enough or we should have more. And that envy or jealousy just keeps us from enjoying the moment. And, so this makes sense too, right? the reason why you have so much humility, right? And so much self-deprecation and in a funny way. And because you're strong, you're smart, you're confident, you know you're successful. So you don't have to boast about it because you already know that this is who you are and what you bring to the table. But the humility, where does it come from? And obviously it came from, feeling like you had to put on the show, and use that arrogance as a survival or a strategy to be able to find your way or survive or succeed in the world. So I've certainly done that many times where I felt insecure. So I would try to show up as smarter or, and use that as like a defense. So I think that's important. That could be another one of your books in your series sometimes, because the people that are listening that are on this show are already, I'm guessing, already get it and understand and are caring and wanting to be more others focused and are wanting to show up as the best version of themselves they can be. But usually the people that need this the most, they are not showing up on podcasts like this. They're not watching these interviews because they already know everything in most cases, they think, right? And so how do you get to them? And I think one way you get to them is by showing up with this in a book, maybe even as a character, as the arrogant one, right? Mm-hmm. Making fun of all these people with the soft skills, making fun of all these people that are using humility as a way of grabbing their attention. Because they'll relate to you and they're like, now that's someone who knows what the hell they're talking about. And then through the transformation, they did it in one of the best books I've ever read on leadership. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception. It's by the Arbinger Group, right? And and that's how they start with a guy who is successful in business, and he was taking his son to a rehab camp and not realizing that he was such a big part of the problem. His arrogance was getting in his way. And that could be a tool that you can use, because I've certainly stepped into that character of being arrogant Tim to make a connection with somebody else who I knew was vibing in the same way, and then slowly starting to infiltrate his perspective and start to give him thoughts from the inside out and then cause him to think it was his idea.
Trojan horse. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That was someone else's idea? I thought I invented that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Yeah, way to go.
Yeah, I think it's about compare and contrast, right? So if we never have anything to contrast our experience or where we are in life with, then we don't know where we are on a scale. So we only have good because we have bad. We only have light because we have dark. So you have to, if I'm going to be humble and show up as humble, I also have to tell the story of when I wasn't humble, right? And that I got egg on my face and I thought I had all the answers. And then that gives more power to humility. You said there are people that all the people on your podcast, they might get it. What I've come to find is they're still searching, right? So that's why they're on this podcast, because they might get it 60%, 70%. So what I would advise is there's never one golden bullet, right? You should always stay curious and keep searching, because look, if our life next year is 2% better than it was this year, it's still better, right? If we are 2% wiser 2 years from now, we're still better. So I think you always keep searching, and our goal, yours and my goal, we're just always planting seeds, and we can't determine when that seed's going to come up. So somebody might hear something today, or this podcast might get shared with somebody in a link to the person that really needed to hear it, and it might not be the right time for them to hear it. But you have to keep doing the great work you're doing. And as a leader, you show up, you can consistently, another C word, consistently show up.
Yeah. And,
that old phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The opportunity for the wisdom will be there. Right. Yeah.
That's why I love these conversations. I love this conversation in particular, because you're right. I mean, even in there, the message is, you're so right. People are going to hear things differently than others. Sometimes one thing's going to stick out more than something else. Sometimes it's timing, right place, right time. Sometimes people have to come back to this and hear it down the road and then look at it from a different perspective and go, okay, I get it now, right? I wasn't quite connecting with it, but now I understand. I got to be aware of my assumptions and biases, right? So I'm making a general assumptions, and I always have to be careful with that. So, and always be searching, because none of us have all the answers. I certainly don't. I'm still searching, right? And the answers that you'll search for will be different. So right now I'm working really hard on making my marriage stronger, right? It used to be all about business, and I talk about the, business and making money and networking and marketing and all that stuff. And now I spend a lot of time talking about how do we make our marriage better? How do we save our marriage? How do I be a better parent? Right?
Well, I got good news.
Yeah.
The next book is The Sensational Spouse. So.
Is it really? Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
the arc. That's the arc in my life. I mean, I've been married 32 years, but the only way that we're here is because tons of people poured into me. It's who you're around. That whole idea of the 5 people that you should spend your time with. I can tell you what kind of person you are. Get people around you that are going to make you better, and you're going to help make them better, and they're going to challenge you, and they're going to demonstrate certain behaviors. So, yeah.
Now, is Kim going to proofread this and give you feedback on this as you establish your wisdom about?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. We spend most every day all year long together, whether we're traveling, going to the grocery store, working out, whatever we do together. And she's always the first person that reads every word I write, because she's a visual learner. So I know, like, if I write a chapter in a certain way, it's either gonna hit her, or she's gonna say, I don't see it, right? I don't get it. I don't know what you're trying to leave here. So she's my greatest critic, and she also knows me better than anybody else on the planet. Yeah. So she'll say, like, Duane, I don't know if you should even write that yet, because we got to make sure we're walking that talk 100% or whatever before you ask someone else. And yeah. So we have that level of trust with each other. So yeah, she'll be reading it.
That's amazing.
She'll be approving this message.
I'm putting I'm planting the seed right now. So when that book is, when you release that, let me know so I can share it and help you promote it. It would be amazing to have you and Kim both on the program and talk about.
Thank you for that gift. Let's go one step further. Since this is out to the world, we're going to put my intention out there. How about if you be a beta reader for that book? So as I finish it, before it goes off to final editing and all that, I'll send you the copy of the manuscript, and then you tell me, hey, Duane, I think this is going to hit with some people, resonate, or you might want to pull your head out of that south end of, and
challenge
you
accepted.
Might want to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Challenge accepted. I would love that. Yeah, that would be amazing, because I'm 100% focused on that right now. And so, yeah, that would be amazing. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. It's done.
Wow.
Done.
Awesome. So many, so much. This has been so awesome. I really appreciate your time, your wisdom, your experience, spending the time with us today. This is really amazing. So
yeah, it was my honor. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the trust. And, I hope we served your audience well today. So,
yeah, well, this audience of amazing, mesmerizing people are just outstanding. And I know that they appreciate everything, that they appreciate the conversation. And I hope that everybody that's listening, that that when Duane and I are having this conversation, you're right in the room with us. We're thinking about you and thinking about questions that you might ask, and things that, matter most to you, and stuff that you can walk away with, thinking about, pondering, or tools that you can start to put into action. So I hope you got as much out of this as I did today. And Duane Cummings, everybody, thank you so much, Duane, for being a part of our program today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Definitely honor, a privilege, and I can't wait till we get together and loiter up in your neck of the woods. So,
so looking forward to that. So, all right, everybody. So here's your assignment. Go to DuaneCummings.com right now and register to win a trip to go with Duane and Kim to Africa. What? Are you crazy? That's amazing, right? Yes. Sign up for that. Win it. And then you can podcast about it, how amazing that would be. And then definitely go get a copy of at least one of Duane's books, the first in the series, or you can start with, being a sensational leader, wherever you feel compelled. But jump into his world, follow him on social media, because you'll be glad you did. I'm a huge fan, and you will be too. So thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate you. Go out there, live, learn, and make today a sure success. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com, and also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your